Okay, so I will start by letting you know that, for my job, on a day-to-day basis, I am a facilitator for MedStar. So I travel all around the region, and I usually present to about maybe 15 to 250 people at a time. So that's what I do on a day-to-day basis. So when Pastor asked me to do this, I was like, no, I'm okay, no thank you. Because this provided a very different level of terror for me. But he told me that something that now I'm going to remember, that God is using my vocation to prepare me for my service. So he told me to come and speak from the heart, so that's what I'm going to do. So as you all know, or most of you know, that I just recently got married. So I had been planning my wedding with this particular man since I was 13. And so I was just waiting for him to get on board. And I thought I thought that this was going to be just kind of like a very beautiful process, and it was going to be amazing, like you see on TV, and everything was going to be wonderful. And it was very far from that. I went through a lot more than I planned to during this process. So when I first got engaged, I had a best friend. She was my best friend. And we were just waiting for him to ask, so we kind of had already started planning. And I knew that she was going to be my maid of honor. I knew that she would be there next to me on that day. And as the planning went and continued, she was very distant, didn't really take part. It got to the point where she had told me she was going to be doing the flowers for my wedding, all of the flowers, because she's a florist. And that was her wedding gift to us. And it got to a point where she decided that she no longer wanted to be maid of honor. She just wanted to be a vendor. I said, okay. It was a little difficult, and Derek kind of walked me through that. And I said, okay, I'll respect that and how she feels. So about 2 months before the wedding, I contacted her, and I said, I haven't gotten your RSVP yet. And she said, oh, yeah, I'm not going to be able to make it. And of course, neither are all of your flowers. So I said, okay. I went to my mother, and my mother said, okay, well, let's just figure it out. We'll do it. We'll put what we need on the card and keep moving. So I had kind of gotten through that, and then a month before my wedding, I called my father. So I called my father to find out if he wants chicken or if he wants fish. And the backstory with my father is that him and my mother and my sister are very much alike. So in my mind, my sister is my mother's favorite. So I felt that I should be my dad's favorite, and that should be kind of my parent. And our relationship was built off of that kind of need to have my parent, right? So I very much love my father and really look to him as that one person that I could go to and call when things were going wrong, and et cetera. So he was to walk me down the aisle. My mother was not happy that he was even going to be there, because their relationship is very strained. But I said, my daddy is walking me down the aisle, because that's what's supposed to happen. So I called to say, did you want chicken? Do you want fish? And he said, well, I'm having a little issue with the wedding. So I'm thinking hotel or travel, I'm going to have to pay for something, but he's going to get here. And I said, well, what's the issue, Daddy? He said, well, I've just really been thinking, and I don't really know if you're my daughter. And I was like, pardon? And he was like, yeah, I'm just not sure. So I need a DNA test, and before I could come and do that, I would need answers. And I literally just sat there, because I was like, well, it has to be, like, I'm 35. At this point, you don't know? I'm confused. So, and he sent the DNA test. We didn't speak. He was just like, I don't want to look stupid, so I need to find out. And I explained to him, while of course I know what the answer to this DNA test is, it doesn't matter what a test says. It doesn't matter if you were my dad, my friend, or the guy up the street. I asked you to walk me down the aisle, and that's all that matters. So we did the DNA test. Of course, I'm his daughter. And then he says, well, I got the results back, so if you want me to book a flight. And I said, you're okay. Thanks, though. I don't need your services. So at that point, I was kind of broken. And I remember saying to God, yeah, I can't do anymore. It's too much at this point. I can't do anymore. I understand that, God will never put more on you than you can bear, but you clearly have like more faith in me than you should, because I can't take all of this. So I came to church the next day, and I was pretty broken. I was visibly broken. And I am not a person who cries in church and who comes in and shows emotion. That level of transparency is not what I provide. So I was here, and I'm feeling myself cry and break down, and I was like, okay, this is not what I want to do in this moment. And at that service, for the very first time since I've been going here, we did like an altar call. And it's never happened before. And I was like, yeah, this is too much. And pastor said my name during the altar call, because I was sitting down. I was not going to come up. And he said my name, and I was like, nope, I have to get out. And I was looking for an exit, and I remember saying, God, I need you to help me right in this moment. And he very clearly said to me, I'm trying to. Wow. So I did walk up with Donda and Derek, and we walked forward, and I prayed and I cried and I prayed and I cried, and it was the very first time in my life I had ever really submitted kind of myself and my feelings to that extent. So after that happened, I went home, and Derek said to me what he keeps saying to me. He said, Kamali, the day is going to be exactly what it's supposed to be. God is going to make it exactly what it's supposed to be. And I found myself in that place, and I realized that sometimes when you're kind of in the midst of everything, and you're on the potter's wheel, and you're spinning, and you're kind of out of your mind, and things are out of control, that a lot of times we find ourselves saying, like, why is God doing this to me? And sometimes you have to stop and say, okay, what is God trying to do for me? So I had to stop thinking about why is this happening to me, and say, okay, what are you trying to show me? What are you trying to show me? What are you trying to create? What are you trying to do? And in that, I realized that, one of the things that I wanted going into my marriage was I wanted my mother and I to be closer, right? So I sat down and I realized that through all of this, all of these different things that were happening, my father not coming, him not paying for the things that he said, the one person who was like, nope, I got it, let's go, was my mother. Wow. And in that, I had a very different respect and a very different feeling, because we take for granted the fact that our moms are always there. And I think that God was trying to show me that in that moment. He was also trying to show me that I was so upset about this one person, this one bridesmaid who wasn't going to be there, and I had 10 other women that were standing up there with me. And my bridesmaids, I had a board of directors of bridesmaids. That's how seriously they took it. So what he was trying to show me is you worry a lot about the things that go wrong, and you need to stop and look at the things that are going right. And I realized in that I had a plan. I knew what I wanted this day to be, and it was that. It didn't get there the way that I wanted it. The road to the end wasn't how I envisioned it, but it was exactly how it was supposed to be. So I share that to say that regardless of what you may be going through, if things are not going according to your plan, and that could be, I thought I was going to be married by this age, or I thought I was going to have a better job by this time, or making more money, or have a bigger house. The road may not look like what you envisioned it to be, but the end result is going to be absolutely perfect. Glory.